Okay, we'll call the meeting to order at 6 p.m. Do we need a motion for that?
No. I just want, you have the February 25th and the March 4th minutes to approve. There's 2 minutes to approve.
We are going to go out of order a bit and we're going to elect officers. We had our first meeting after town meeting on the 4th and we elected a chair temporarily to be confirmed, discussed, changed today's meeting, and to elect the other officers for the ensuing year. So do I hear a nomination for chair?
Ellie Evans.
A second?
A second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I hear 2,
Aye.
Aye.
3, 4. Okay. So Ally's the chair. Then the vice chair held by Katie last year. Do I hear a nomination for that?
Katie Morrow. Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the ayes have it. And then the, what do we call this person? Clerk. I always want to call him secretary. The clerk.
Rob Wright.
Second.
Okay, discussion? Rob, you're willing?
Yep.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, the ayes have it. So now we have a slate of officers for the ensuing year. I'd like to start off the year by just talking about behaviors in meetings and that we all keep a civil tone, we maintain order, we don't monopolize the floor, we wait for the chair to recognize you before you speak. That it's basically pretty simple, but it's so we can respect each other and so that we can run our meetings efficiently. We do have, I'll move on to approval of minutes. We've added March 4th because that's the town meeting minutes that are to be approved. So they're included in here. Have you folks had a chance to read them?
Yes.
Do I hear a motion to accept them?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of accepting, should I do them separately or together? I can do them together. I think the motion was to accept them together, right? Okay. So with no further discussion, we'll vote. All those in favor of accepting February 25th and March 4th, 2025 meeting minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that's 5. Okay, then we have a long list of additions and deletions, and I think I see a couple of other additions that might be here. We have Shiloh, we have Corey, we have an email from Forrester, we have a fellow regarding a cell tower, we have Sherwood's request for expenditure for the fire department, we have town use request, we have VTrans paving, we have Zumbruski request, and then, is your name Mark?
Ed.
Ed. And Ed is here as well, and I happen to know what that is. So,
Of being a member of the public.
he will be a member of the public, Ed. So members of the public, we have Shiloh, who's here to talk about a possible events coordinator proposal. So you have the floor for a couple of minutes, Shiloh.
So I printed copies of these ideas with some other information for you, so you would know that I wasn't coming up here with absolutely no ideas about what I'm thinking about or what I'm proposing. But basically, like I said at town meeting, I think it would be great if we could have more community events And as you can see from the last 2 pages of what I gave you, there are some basic ideas in there, although I do have other documents that are expanding on each of those ideas, like an entire page for each one. I've got several people who have volunteered to help me do all this. The logistics and objectives and everything are included on the first couple of pages. Even though I haven't gotten to really do anything like this in a very long time, I did coordinate and organize the gaming night Wednesdays at the library. So I think community events are just something that's really important, and I would like to propose that there be a community event coordinator position made, and I volunteered to do that at my own expense, no charge or whatever. But I don't expect an answer tonight because I'd like for you all to look over what I've given you, so you have some idea of what I have in mind.
We would like to look it over, and we do appointments at the next meeting. So if we think about it before then and have questions, we'll give you a shout.
All right.
All right, thank
Great.
you.
See you next time.
All right.
Thank you.
And Ed, I'm going to take you next, and then Corey.
I just have an issue on Plum Road. The town is assuming a 50-foot right-of-way because I guess the town does not have a record of anything else, but my property survey indicates it as being 33 feet. And the issue that is a plow came through and moved all our boulders. And what I imagine is happening is the property across from us on what used to be called Taft Hill Road is now Plum Road. It's not being maintained, and all the trees that are growing is forcing all the plows. And that's why I say the road is starting.
Do you mean the hill where it goes into that undeveloped development?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And those trees are forcing the plows further and further as they grow. It's been happening about 10 years.
Just to give the board a little background, I spoke to Ed and his mom. They have the house at the beginning of Plum Road on the right, the red house that used to be called the Crow's Nest.
Still is, but
Years and years ago.
Yeah.
When the town went by with their, what's that extra plow that gets the snow back? The wing, so that if there's more snow, it has somewhere to go. It moved to boulders that, in my opinion, were in the right of way. I'm not a surveyor, but what I did for Ed and his mom was I looked up a lot of information in the town records about right of ways in general. They had their survey, and I dropped them off to them so they could read them over and see, how they wanted to proceed. So that's where we are now.
Is there an ask?
Yeah. Are you asking for us to do something?
Well, stop plowing my boulders.
But
What the problem is the opposite property is just not being maintained. And they're now really huge trees, and they're in the right of way. And they're starting to cause an encroachment because of the plowing and the grading and everything. And
so how would the board like to proceed with this?
I would ask if we brought one down, put the stones that got moved back in the original place, would that, for the moment, help what you're concerned about? And then work from there on to the actual right of way?
Yeah, there's only one, according to my survey map, there's only one positively identifiable feature, is a stone wall on Mr. Hagee's property. And that is what on my survey denotes as the edge of the right of way. But it doesn't continue all the way
No.
to 130.
What my question was is if we went back down there with a backhoe or whatever and put the rocks that got moved back in their original spot or before this incident,
So
would
you
that,
can
would that help? At
It
first,
would help, but
Okay.
I'd like for us to establish where that right of way is.
So
but
basically,
for the moment, if we moved the rocks and put them back in their original spot and then worked from there, would that help?
That would help, but it might be a waste of time because we can't establish exactly where our side of the right of way really is. I mean, they were put there by, according to the survey, they were put there by,
Gould,
thank you.
you're welcome.
And, but now I don't know where that line is. I used to be a surveyor in North Carolina.
Well,
So
I think Rob's offering a two-pronged solution. We'll put the rocks back where they were, and then we'll talk with you about the right-of-way. And we'll come to a meeting of the mind.
Exactly.
Is that what you're saying?
That's
Do
exactly
you
what
want me to make a copy of the evidence for you?
If you'd like to leave it with Connie, she can make a copy, or if you don't want to leave it, you can come in tomorrow and Connie
I'll
can.
make a copy. It's a big
Oh, okay.
sheet like this, so.
Okay,
Okay, that's fine.
okay,
But I do have, I'm gonna get a surveyor anyway to relocate our property corners there. So
that's probably a
No.
good idea. And like the little reflectors you had, those were almost in the road,
no,
Yeah.
they were on the right of way.
on the right of way.
They
Okay,
were right next to those stones which were put on the right of way. I put them there specifically.
okay.
But I knew
So-
that the winter was gonna take them out. It's just that, so people can see where that right of way line was.
Okay.
Now I don't know where it is anymore,
Okay,
because everything was moved.
this is
So-
probably the first thing for our to-do list, the binder we're gonna keep, so we don't lose track of things that we have on.
So you just.
And there's no rush to do that.
Someone direct.
Really, it's just,
Right,
I think the best thing to do is remove those trees.
well, why don't we wait for that until we
Oh,
talk
and,
about the right of way?
True, and also maybe not even do that yet, because we got a letter from the electric company, Green Mountain.
And they're gonna
And
put an
They're they're rearranging all the power lines there, so they
Right.
may be taking the trees themselves,
right,
who knows?
right. So I would suggest that we have a board member and Jeremy go down and talk with you about the right of way.
Okay.
And we'll direct Jeremy to move the boulders back. I don't know if you wanna put a little cone where you want them, or,
Okay,
Was it just the one?
say it,
Just the one that got split in half?
it's 2 or 3.
okay.
So I don't wanna take up any more time with this.
That's okay, and you're welcome to stay and see how government works if you
Can I
like.
make that copy now?
A copy this big?
No, no, a portion of it, that's relevant.
Okay, if Alanka's still
She's
there, oh, she's not.
Okay.
So come tomorrow and we'll be in full swing.
Perfect.
All right, thank you. And now Corey.
Forgive the dog and the way I look. We literally got off. We literally arrived in Hartford 3 hours ago, so we haven't been home yet. Come here, Jalen. I guess you all saw what I've thought here about the website. It's great to see that the town appropriated the money that was in the budget for it. I have been in touch with Rick Hagee now. We've probably communicated 3, 4, 5 times. So he knows what I'm doing. He's supportive of it. He's willing to assist in the migration of all of these documents. I gotta tell y'all, and hopefully if in fact we switch over to a new website, I hope there's an occasion I'll volunteer to even put it on, some sort of appreciation refreshment hour for Rick. I mean, as I've gotten into this and I've seen what he's collected, and I've showed this to a couple of web designers, and they've looked at it and they said, let me tell you, the fact that you have that all congregated in one place, that's gonna really save you a lot of money, because it's there. We don't have to scan documents and scan minutes and all that. We have it, so we can just incorporate it into your website. The other thing that I guess intrigued Rick and intrigued me, which I'm embarrassed to say I didn't know, and that is that my daughter, who works for Florida Power and Light, NextEra, it's actually called, by the by, it's the largest alternative energy company in the world. Madison, my daughter, worked for, I had no idea that she did website design for this company. So when I told her what we were talking about, she was okay, well, so, I can't give a lot of time to it, but sign me up. So that was, pretty nice. I'm going to meet with Mr. DeGranier tomorrow also about just maybe, historical sections or this and that kind of thing. So once I heard that it was funded, once I heard that Rick was wanting to really pass the baton, once I knew that he had all of the documentation that any type of web designer is going to need, I thought to myself, I will volunteer my time to do this. Keep in mind, too, folks, that anybody can be on this committee. My thought here is that every committee meeting, if we have, no matter how many we have, will be virtual, so nobody's got to show up in a physical place, which makes it easier for folks. And then, as you probably saw in my documentation, one of the things, believe it or not, this town was founded in 1753. We do not have a town seal. We have smatterings of one. We have something on the some of the stationery. We have on the town signs coming in. We have like the silhouette of the town hall, but we don't actually have a town seal. So my thought here is, and I'll volunteer to do this in conjunction with this committee to ultimately get together, assess the needs of the various departments, what you all want, what the town wants, what citizens want, and ultimately then meet with various planners, web planners. The idea here is to bring it to you, show you the various options, show you the various designs, and the costs. The cost will have to be over $4,000 because that's all that's been budgeted. So that will be it, or lower. And then the idea here is, in conjunction with the website, to actually have a town seal contest. I think Laura's committee, when you all did the gazebo, wasn't that a town vote? And that's what I'm thinking in terms of the design. Town vote. You show up town hall, you vote. You tell us what seal you like, and that will. My thought here is when we unveil the website, it's going to be a long time. This is going to take. Everyone has told me 6 months to do. So you figure around Christmas time is when this would be done. If we start soon, if we start in March, and then we unveil the winner of the town seal, that becomes the town seal, gets incorporated into the homepage of the website, and onward. So I know you all.
Yeah, I have certain questions, like the gazebo committee, for instance. The select board chose who was on it. Public was welcome to come if they wanted to. It wasn't a closed meeting. But when you say, oh, anybody can join, I think it should be sanctioned by the select board who's on the committee, and that the committee reports back to the select board, especially starting in July when you're expending town monies.
Good with that. I just don't want people to think that it was a closed shop.
No, and as I said, the gazebo committee, we had meetings and we warned them on Front Porch Forum and everything else, and people were welcome to come and give their input, and once in a blue moon they did.
Yeah.
So that was my only thought in listening. Do you board have any questions or comments?
And maybe that's a good way to do it. Like I guess, as you said, with the issue of the events coordinator, maybe in 2 weeks, if you all want to take a look at this now, read it, ask some questions. I won't be here, but I can appear by.
We know you can talk online.
Yes. And so I can answer then any further questions. But I think. And I'll tell you what I really find interesting. I watched the town meeting, and I saw the issues that were brought up by town citizens. And I really do believe, I'm really of the opinion now, that this is going to be, this website that's not only going to be available to post all sorts of stuff, but it's also going to be able to provide real-time emergency notifications from anything that's going on during a situation like that. But it's also going to, I think, and this really hit home to me after I watched the the town meeting. It's going to be, if folks want transparency, they're not going to get any more than this. Everything that you all want to do, any kind of gazebo actions that are being talked about, anything is going to be a click away. And Rick admitted to me, Rick said, we did this when we had to do it a long time ago, and yes, it's not an active, vibrant site. It's a static site. He told me it was a pirated site. But it's reached its useful life. Thank God Rick did what he did. And for less than $4,000, we're probably going to be able to get into the 21st century.
Did you do any vetting through the state? Because I know that there was something to do with town websites, and that's why it was what Rick would call pirated.
Correct.
Is that there was something to do with the state, and you couldn't
Right.
have the town name
Right.
without it being vetted through the state, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, what they did, Rob, and this is why Rick freaked out, and rightfully so, back in, I think it was 2016, the town had passed this draconian, not town, the legislature had passed this draconian, if you have a website, you will post this, and if your minutes don't get in within 5 days of the meeting, or within 24 hours of the meeting, in terms of a notice, the state's gonna come after you. They have, because everybody's, okay, guess what, bye, we're doing unofficial websites. So the state over the last 4 or 5 years have modified that. If there is even a violation now, with a posting a notice or whatever it is, the required first step is you have to write a letter to that person, that board, and say, correct it. So if you correct it, it's over. If you don't correct it, then I guess you should have a problem, and you would. But they have built in a self-correct thing now where, oops, sorry, don't do it again. And so the liability, because they left it open, is really kind of in a scary way in 2016. That has really been tightened up now, and nobody's going to jail, nobody's going to get sued, and I guess that's a good news.
I can speak on that as well. I did a bunch of research about this months ago, and I asked the VLCT if they had any recommendations. Well, if we decided to go down this road, and they had said that a lot of people use a .gov. They think that that's the sure way to go, which we did with our emails. And I also called several other towns to ask them how they built their website, and are they official, are they unofficial, are they .govs, how do they do it? Pretty much every town just does it their own way. There's .coms, there's .govs, there's all this different stuff. So it did seem from the feedback that I got that they have rolled back a lot of that stuff, and it's kind of just become the norm now to do it. So
yeah, this is good. This is exciting stuff, and we're going to be able to do things because the technology is just so mind-blowing now. We're going to be able to put like videos up if we want, and I saw what's Irv's name?
So
He needs to be interviewed, and just what do you remember of Townshend? And just in a little blurb, if somebody wants to see a historical interview with Irv,
well, they had a 90th birthday party for him, and that could have been on the website.
I mean, there's so much to do, and as Rick said, when you guys want something on the website, I can do it, but it's a 2 or 3 day delay because I've got other stuff going on, and as I've assured Connie and Alenka, based on my numerous conversations with these potential website designers, this will be so easy for them. They said, I said, what are they doing now? I said, well, they're pushing print, and they're printing out a notice, and they're putting it on at the library out in front. They said, okay, instead of pushing the button to print, they're going to push the button to put it on the website. Mm-hmm. So it's the same thing, and it's going to be easier. We don't have to use Rick. Poor Connie doesn't say, Rick, listen, I don't want to bother you, but can you get this up? Connie can do it now, and part of all these deals, I will tell you too, as you would hope, is support. Most of these places are offering up to 20 hours of support a month. So if Connie or Alenka say, okay, Corey, this isn't as easy as you said, what's going on here? There's people that will be available, call them, there's no extra charge, part of the deal, and they will walk you through any problems. So I'm excited about this, and I'll be around in 2 weeks and answer any questions.
All right.
Okay.
Any other questions, board?
Okay, I'm going home and take a shower.
Thank you.
See y'all.
Okay, where are we now? We're to correspondence. And letter regarding roads. Let's see where that is. Oh, we got a nice letter about the roads. And it is, does anybody want to paraphrase it?
Beacon Mountain Road is happy.
Okay, that's a good way to paraphrase it. But it's nice to hear when people are happy too. Because, you know, there are people in town that are happy. Then we'll pass on letter from John Evans. Where's that? Oh, it's probably on the back. Here it is. 35 years of service. I'm writing to give notice for my retirement from the Planning Commission. That's paraphrasing it. And he also offered that as time allows, I will continue to be of service to this community. I have enjoyed working with all of you and believe my time can be directed towards other projects. So, then the next one, any comments on that? Or,
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
and then.
See you at the fountain.
Yeah, and the gazebo, and wherever he may be. Letter from the logger guy about the town pit. Rob, as our logger person, would you like to summarize this for us?
Not really.
Okay. Basically, so the public knows what we're thinking, we have been trying to log the gravel pit a bit, and so we can go in and get stone out of there to crush and use on the roads. And we have been writing RFPs, which are requests for bids from companies, and admittedly, we have not written them very well for the project, and we've pulled back both RFPs because we found them lacking. And we want to have a conversation about doing it differently. This person responded to us. We are not working with this person. He just had some ideas he wanted to share regarding that.
Well, Rob, last time when we pulled the RFP back, we were about to talk to you as the tree warden about the gravel pit thing and get into a larger discussion with you, so it's convenient now.
What I would suggest to do is to talk to Tim Morton, who is one of the state's foresters. He's out of Springfield office, lives in Windham County, and he was the one that was the forester for the town pit the last time it was logged, and he did it for free because we're a town in the state of Vermont, and he was working for the state. And that's what I would suggest to do this time, is to talk to Tim and pick his brain about what to do with it. And then he went through the last time and wrote up all of the contracts, sent out the bids to different people, and did the showing of the property, did the whole entire thing. And that's what I would suggest.
Okay.
And I would be glad to get a hold of Tim if that's what you guys would like me to do.
Shall we make a motion to do that?
Should it be setting up a meeting with you and Jeremy and Tim?
Well, I think first you'd want to talk to Tim and make sure he's on board with it, and then after that, set up a meeting between Jeremy, Tim, myself, and whoever else would like to be involved, and get a scope of what the town needs done, and then get a scope of what Tim would suggest, and then come together with an outlook of what you're going to do with the job, and then build an RFB for request for bid, and go from there.
Okay,
That sounds like a fun.
is that a motion?
All you need to do is move it.
Make a motion that Rob calls the forester.
Sounds good?
Second?
Okay,
Evans, you made the motion?
I did. And any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so the ayes have it. The next one is Springer Law Office. It was a stack of paper about this big. We only copied the letter. Even reading through the stack of paper, it had to do with the cell tower across the road. And I called them today. I said, we have a board meeting tonight. Can you give me a clue what this is all about? And basically, we don't have to do anything. They just needed to alert us and the landowner, Tarbells, that they want to put, or T-Mobile wants to put some arms on the cell tower. And if we had a problem with it, we could call them, but it's just really a courtesy that they're letting us know. So I said I would share that with the board.
Do we know if Tarbells have been notified of it?
They said they did, but I don't know it in writing. And I haven't talked to them.
Tarbell said they did, or
No, it's this
the
person.
lawyer said?
Yeah, it's a good thing. When I called, he answered his own phone and said, "Hey, this is John." I'm like, "That's a nice lawyer." So we can find out from Otto.
Well, I think we would be smart to reach out to Rose or Otto or.
Yeah, I don't like to do
Really?
anything without the board knowing first, so that's why I brought it to you guys.
So is there
I'm
a direction?
But not yet. I reported what I knew, and Rob is bringing up that we should probably speak to the Tarbells, and do I hear a motion for somebody to do that?
I'd make a motion to have somebody from the board give the letter that we received to one of the landowners so that they were or had knowledge of what they're intending to do.
So we see what,
So
They
their
see what we-
communication and our communication are the same.
okay,
I'll second.
okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Alright,
That's 5, was that?
Yeah,
Who's the person that's gonna contact? Do you want me to send the information?
shall we have Connie send the information to Otto?
Sure.
Okay,
Please.
yes. Now where are we? We're the warrants. Katie, you're not the clerk anymore, Rob's the clerk. So Rob, would you like to
Are we
read?
reading them individually or are we going with one lump
With
sum?
Page usually.
We usually go through 1 through 7 and then
All
give the
right, I
total.
make a motion to pay warrant number 1 payroll in the amount of $14,112.85. Warrant number 2 payroll tax in the amount of $6,378.40. Number 3 general fund in the amount of $13,081.54. Number 4 highway revised from 2/26/25 of $167.30. Number 5 highway for 3/3/25 in the amount of $157.82. Highway, number 6 highway in the amount of $33,359.51. Number 7 town hall reserve fund in the amount of $6,473 for a total of $73,730.42. And I'm gonna guess that the info part on the bottom of a school payment is coming up for the next one?
It's
In the warrants.
It's in the warrants and I believe,
For this one or the next one?
I believe it's in this packet.
All right, so we have a school payment going out for $759,310.01.
give them that 1 cent.
They're gonna get every cent they can.
Okay.
Who's the second to the motion?
Second.
Mary?
Any discussion? The only discussion I would have is that we try to get the treasurer to have the warrants on our desk by Friday, so we have time to go through them at our leisure. But we're pretty firm that they can't be any later than Monday. Doesn't always work, but we're trying. Because to come in here for a meeting and have warrants on your table that you haven't really gotten a chance to digest, and she's not here to ask questions if you have a question. So we're trying and we've gotten, it's not perfect, but we've achieved a lot. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, got 5 again. Okay, now we go on to the highway. Jeremy?
I put a little informational thing from 2 weeks ago, select foreman's meeting on,
Everybody should have that.
just a little informational thing. summary of what we talked about at the foreman's meeting, kind of backing up what I had said at town meeting. Other than that, I don't really have much except for truck 3 is down again, having diesel exhaust fluid issues. This has been a continual problem with this particular piece of equipment. I had a couple of flat tires this week and a broken rim, so that's going to be coming up this week as an expenditure. One season is not here yet, but it looks like it's coming. So that's about it.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Any questions?
You folks have any questions? No? Okay. Then the treasurer. We get this dandy little piece of paper that says balances. And the balance in our big account is $1,446,836.61. These are before the warrants, so you know that big school one's gonna come out of that and all our other little ones. And then we have the swing account of $30,000 that we always keep in there. Okay, then we go on to the town clerk. The town clerk in the last 2 weeks of February brought in $1,296.50. And it's broken down into all the categories that you see on the sheet. Let's see what else. Then the chair. Are we requesting that we do a thank you letter to John Evans? Is that what we mean by that?
No, he is requesting, oh yes. Okay. He is requesting that we do a thank you letter to the electrician who helped on the gazebo.
Amadin, who helped on the gazebo. And I think also while we're talking about it, we should do a thank you letter for John for 35 years of service. So.
It's Amston.
Amston?
Yes.
Scott Amston.
Isn't that what I said? Okay.
If it isn't, then
Yeah, it is. It's the guy that lives in Jacob's old house.
I'd like to make a motion to ask Connie to put together a thank you letter for Mr. Amsden that helped with the electrical on the gazebo.
do you want to incorporate a letter to John too?
Sure, and also have her write a thank you letter to John Evans for his service on the planning commission.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
I'll get the name correct before I do.
okay. March 12th Select Board meeting hosted by Windham Regional Commission.
Tomorrow.
It's tomorrow. Connie and I are going. Anybody else is welcome to go?
I'm going.
You're going?
I found it helpful last year. I went with Sherwood last year.
Okay. Bye, Ed. So that's just a point of information. If you want to go, it's there. April 10th, capital planning meeting put on by the state of Vermont. I don't know much about that. Connie, do you know?
No. I think you and I had talked about going, but.
Right, but we weren't quite sure. Okay. Shall we look into it and put it on the agenda for next meeting? It's April 10th, so
If anybody wants to go.
yeah.
You can read it, capital plans, infrastructure, housing department.
Sometimes, big meetings like this, they talk about Burlington-size issues, and it's not really applicable, but you do tend to learn something, so, so I always feel like this about it. So, can you find out a little bit more about it and like how much it costs and then let us know?
Yep.
Okay, then we'll move along to pilot funding program for removal of ash trees and tree planting. Pilot funding program.
I think this is the one that Katie said that she may want to report on at your next.
I just did some research into it over the past couple of months and
Do
stuff.
you want to put it off until next meeting when you
Yeah.
have your report?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I think Rob knows a lot about the trees, and so does Steve as well.
324 is that?
25, I think.
Okay. Historic preservation grant ceremony. Do you want to tell us that, or you want to wait next time also?
That's okay. I'm going to this next week. It's just where they present. I'll accept. Well, we already accepted the grant as a town, but it's just kind of a thing where you go and meet the legislators and stuff like that. And so I'm gonna go to the State House to, I guess it's, you know, to attend the award ceremony where they make all the announcements for the different preservation grants.
Good. Are you going by yourself?
Sean's gonna come.
Oh, good. I didn't know
I
if
think
you wanted.
Betty's gonna be there, isn't she? No?
No, that was last year.
That was last
So they were, Charlie asked me, he said if I would say anything for the Historical Society as well if it comes up, but he doesn't expect it because it was last year.
Okay. And then you'll just report to us in your report how it went.
Yeah.
Appointments. We thought that we would announce them tonight. We will post them the way we posted them last year, where we post them without names. Anybody interested can put their hat in the ring, and then it's brought back to the board on 4/8/25. And any discussion on that?
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm not standing because my back is
Okay,
shot.
Laura, go ahead.
I was reading the policies and ordinances for the town, and one of the things that they talked about was an ethics committee where you appoint, you ask the people from the town, taxpayers, to be on this committee. And I think they can choose like 10, up to 10, you can choose up to 10 people, pulling names out of a hat, whatever. And this committee becomes a town ethics committee for a year. And I was just wondering if you're going to do that policy this year.
I did put it on the bottom in handwriting after town meeting of the appointments, that we'll discuss it at that way. I put that, I put the events one that Shiloh was talking about. So I think the one Laura's referring to, Sean and I talked about after town meeting.
The ethics one?
Yeah, so.
So it's going to be posted.
Yes. Okay. The grant coordinator, no report because it'll be on next week's old business. Report on hospital meeting for emergencies. Yesterday, at the board's direction, I met with 3 people from the hospital, Sherwood, Katie, was that it? Alenka.
Yeah.
And about the 2 school shutdowns that the hospital had initiated, an emergency chain without calling us, without calling the fire department, without doing a lot of the things that we felt an emergency should be. How would we tell our townspeople what's going on with their children at school if we don't know? So we had a meeting with them. We talked about the fact that it's not always going to initiate from the hospital. They might be one of the people called instead of one of the people pushing the emergency button, so to speak. So we are going to give a week for Alenka and Crystal DeRosa, who's their emergency management person employed by the hospital, to have a conversation, put all the players in, you know, like a Christmas tree of sorts, and for discussion, not for decisions. I said this meeting is not making decisions about anything because I'm only one person, and I'll bring it back to the board. And so what we will get in a week is their suggestions given to all the parties at the meeting yesterday, And then we'll have another meeting on Monday, the 24th. So Tuesday, the 25th, we'll be able to bring back what we can offer, not decide, but what we can offer and see if the board wants to act on anything. So, it's an important, I said, well, did you call the Valley Cares? No. We didn't think he was headed that way. Well, it just seemed like we needed to hammer the particulars down. And that's what we're in the process of doing, and we'll offer it to you on the 25th. And anybody's allowed to come to the meeting. If we have more than 2 select board, we'll just have to ask Connie to warn it. So.
And I do want to point out that Sherwood was there as our emergency management coordinator, and he was, we put this plan together as well with him, and that he's gonna be part of that process. And it all kind of made sense to keep us, like, the hospital's gonna have their process and we're gonna have ours, but we're just improving that communication between the two. 'Cause there was a little bit of talk of, like, would they put us on their little alert? That doesn't make sense. So, it seems to be going in the right direction.
No, they did say they one of the things they offer is to put several key people on their alert.
Right, but I think it's more
But
like,
not to tell the townspeople.
I think because of the way the ordinance that he showed us with the emergency management coordinator works is that it has to be him. And then there's some other people, and then it comes and filters down from him down to, like, his tree of how that works, right? Because that initial communication has to go to that emergency management coordinator.
Well, and the emergency management coordinator can be somebody different all the time. They're appointed every year, just like everybody else. So whatever it works, it can't just apply to Sherwood or to me.
I just meant the emergency management coordinator.
Yeah. So, okay. Any comments on that, folks? Okay, we're back to the town hall use and common use policy.
I think there isn't that much more that we need to plug into this document. I think we've talked it to death over the past couple of years, and we've taken information, and Kate had worked on it, and there's just a few things left to put into it, I would imagine, before we could just pass it again if we wanted to.
Do you want to do it or should I do it?
I don't really want to, but
I'll do it, I don't care. I mean, if people give me, if they have a couple of suggestions, I'll work them in and Connie and I can get it to present to you next time. I'd love somebody to adopt the policies in general and say, I want to look at all the Townshend policies, I want to see which ones work, which ones need tweaking. But we can start with this one. So if you folks give me notes on things you think, then I'll pull it all together.
I have a question about that.
Yeah?
If there's an existing policy that's already been put before the people of the town and accepted by the people of the town and accepted by the members of the select board at that time, don't we have to follow that policy until we adapt a new one and do the same process again? Putting it before the town and then having the select board vote on it? And instead of just kind of following a policy that doesn't really even exist at the moment?
I'm not sure what you mean doesn't really exist.
Well,
We have, in the papers, we have old policy and current policy.
yeah, but it hasn't been put before the town, it hasn't been posted for the town to look at, and it hasn't been voted on by a select board, because it just kept getting changed or revised or
It didn't
whatever.
keep getting changed, it was getting changed, we were gonna vote on it, and the lady who was working on it had a medical issue and hadn't been here for several months, and that's why it stalled. I said I would go through the old policy and the new policy, come up with one that I feel works, and then present it to the full board for tweaking. And if you folks have things you feel passionate about, please let me know and I'll include them.
But you haven't answered my question about whether or not you have to follow the original policy
And I don't know
until
the
the new
answer.
policy
I believe we are following the original policy.
I think that what we did was we were deferring to the draft, which is very close to the original policy that Kate had made some tweaks to. We passed it temporarily with the understanding that she was going to continue to revise it if we saw any issues come up as people
Utilized it.
wanted to book events here and everything like that. So we were deferring to that, and then unfortunately within that time frame she was no longer available to work on the policy, and I believe that we've continued to utilize that draft, which again is very close to the original, in the past couple months since I've been
You're kind of repeating yourselves though, because
I don't even understand what you're saying that we're not
the
following.
process of
What are we following?
The process of enacting a policy for a town, there's a specific process that you're supposed to follow, which is you come up with a policy, and then you put it out you post it so that townspeople can look at it and decide whether or not they like it and put in their 2 cents worth. And then you bring it before the board, and then the board could pass it or not pass it. And that has not been done.
Well, there was a policy in place,
Yes.
and then we revised it.
But
Actually, at your request. So if there was anything else that you thought needed to be added to it that wasn't added to it, this is what Ally is saying. Please give her that
that was
information.
not for my request.
My recollection was that Sherwood, as the chair of the select board at the time, was under the belief that the select board has the ability to write and revise policies without doing the public input process. We can check that out with VLCT, but I think that's maybe where there's a difference of opinion.
So would you want to, I can check it out with the LCT as well.
Or you guys can direct me to do that too if you want.
I'd make a motion to have Connie direct the question to the league about a policy approved and then an interim policy effectiveness, and report back to us next meeting.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the ayes have it, Tom. Okay, then we go on to, we already selected the officers, we moved that up. Paper of record. This came up at town meeting when they talked about paper of record, and Connie and I thought, ooh, we aren't using the paper anymore, we're only using electronic, like
This is the Commons.
Facebook forum and things like that, and the Common was our paper of record. We, Connie kindly communicated with the league, asked them the question, and they went through this whole rigmarole about, yes, it's this day and age where everybody does everything electronically, but you're wise to have a paper of record. And we had the Common previously as our paper of record. I mean, paper of record it's not that much of an extra step, right, Connie? But it does cost money each time, doesn't it?
It does cost money if you're posting things in it, and I guess the question is what do you need to post in it?
What were we posting before? Was it our warnings and stuff?
New jobs. If we are late on our warning, there's a legal requirement to post it in your record, your
Paper of record.
but we're never late, so we haven't had to do that in the last few years. So far, it's just basically been job openings that we have posted.
And the Commons was the cheapest of all of the paper of records between the Reformer,
Yeah.
whatever else there was,
Yeah.
and the Commons was the cheapest.
Correct. So,
I'd make a motion to use the Commons as the paper of record for 2025 and until next
Till next
when
town
somebody-
meeting.
Yeah, next time when somebody wants to change it.
Second.
okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Budget directives to the treasurer.
You want me to go over that?
Sure.
So this comes out of town meeting and out of having received the funds that we said that we were waiting for. So
The funds.
Yeah, so the first one is, let me start with the funds one. So it's the second directive that you're looking at. We have received this past Friday, we received the FEMA additional 15% reimbursement for $45,000 and change. And we received the $83,000 and change, which was the reimbursement from the Federal Highway Program. This is reimbursements from the July 10th, 2023 storm. And I had said at town meeting that these funds, because they are for expenses in fiscal year '24, we have the ability, they're undesignated, unassigned funds that have come in a different fiscal year, so we have the ability to use them. And I had said that we were planning to use them to address the $80,000, $79,000 and change, $80,000 deficit coming out of fiscal year '24. So this is a directive to the treasurer to make sure that we use those funds to cover, that we keep them separate and we don't just,
Throw them in the
throw them
pot.
in, but that they hold them separate so that the select board can decide what to do with them. Hopefully, and I think the select board did, at least the previous select board had decided to use them for the offsetting of that deficit. I have given this as a draft to the treasurer, and she and I will be discussing it next week. I think that it's a good directive. It would need to be signed by the select board. She may come back with a different strategy on it or a different mechanism, but the intent to keep them separate to help or to offset that deficit is the intent of the directive.
So I think we need a motion and a second, and then we can discuss.
I'd like to make a motion to order the two directives to the treasurer.
We may want to take them one at a time.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to order the directive to disperse the fiscal year '25 $200,000 highway article allotment. Do you want me to, I don't need to read it.
I didn't talk about that one, but.
Okay. Oh, you want me to do the other one first?
Yeah, do the other
Oh,
one.
sorry, I was just looking at the first piece of paper.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
Sorry, scratch that. I'd like to make a motion to order the directive to the treasurer to separate out the two 2023 storm reimbursements and hold them for the purpose of offsetting the deficit at the end of fiscal year 2024.
Second?
Second.
Okay, discussion? I personally, the last part that you said, she may have another mechanism. I'd like you to say, well, I should get in touch with the board about that, because I don't want it veering too far off of what you've suggested and or the board's approved,
So I guess if you guys agree with this, my feeling is that the select board would sign this directive because we want to make sure she understands, now that she has the funds, that they should be held until there's a decision of the mechanism.
But she's already paid the bills, so this is just
They were paid
reimbursing
in
the money.
23.
Yeah, they were all paid in '23, in fiscal year '24.
24.
But yes, I think that makes sense, that whatever she says will come back to the board.
Mm-hmm.
But my request is to have you guys sign it tonight if you think that directive makes sense.
So that's to give you the ability to speak with her and report back to us.
Well, no, the directive is for her to hold those funds, now that they came in Friday, to hold them in a mechanism that I guess I'll report back
Okay,
to you.
further discussion?
I think that's the deal.
I would like to say thank you to Jeremey and Katie and Connie for getting this money. I mean, I've spoken to a lot of towns that are like, oh, could we do that? And they don't seem aware that they can do this. So I appreciate you folks staying on top of it.
I would just like to point out that the reason we are getting $83,116, which is a 100% reimbursement, is because the work was completed in a timely fashion. If it wasn't, then that 100% reimbursement would have been reduced. So I do think it's worth pointing that out. Okay.
That was on Steve's watch, just so you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Steve always completed the work.
23, that was the end of his watch.
Yeah.
But still, bravo.
I can't take credit for that. I can take credit for the paperwork, but I can't take credit for that.
Okay, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so then before you go, folks. we
I'm
need
gonna
to sign that.
put this right on top of the warrants.
Well, I have the original. I can
Oh,
get people
okay.
to sign.
Okay, and then
Then there's the other one.
the next one is to direct the disbursement of the FY 25 $200,000 highway article allotment in the following manner. One, pay the backhoe lease's first payment of 24, which is like the second payment, right? No?
No, this is.
Oh, this is the one that's already been paid, but we
For
would be
fiscal year
bookkeeping
25.
it to that. This payment has been made, so therefore reimburse the line item. Pay the grader lease for the first payment of FY 25 in the amount of 91,037.37. And we have code numbers next to them. This payment has been made, so it's also a reimbursing the line item. And then move the balance of $76,498.31 to the highway reserve. So if you add those three up, it equals the 200,000 that was voted a year and a week ago at town meeting in an article.
So you want me to explain it? or
Sure,
make a motion
you can,
first?
yeah, probably we should make a motion and second it and then discuss it. So do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay,
Okay, so this was my attempt. I had mentioned to the select board, the old select board, prior to town meeting that Elaine has held the money that has come in so far from that $200,000 allocation or appropriation. It's now at $150,000, and she has kept it separate until it all comes in and it's decided how to disperse it. But two things happened, which is at town meeting, the article was approved about the two leases. So we need to make sure that the money that we have already paid for those two lease payments actually gets paid by the allocation and not just out of the highway fund. Because for fiscal year 25, it comes out of that because it was an unexpected expense that happened early in fiscal year. It was still in fiscal year 24. So that was to make sure that those two lease payments that have already been paid are
book kept
correctly.
Wasn't it right after fiscal year 25 began? It was
May have been right after.
September, I believe.
And then the number three is to make sure that the purpose of that allocation by the town residents was for highway equipment, not for the highway budget. So number three is to make sure that that goes to where it should go, which is now that we have a highway reserve, it goes in there. So that's the intent of those three. Again, she has a copy of this. I have not gotten a chance to hear her response yet.
I have a question. I thought, I might be getting the hundreds of thousands mixed up. I thought that we voted to pay off the backhoe.
That's in fiscal year 26. This is dealing with the monies that were approved in
Okay.
fiscal year 25.
Discussion? Okay, shall we vote?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
So I would assume that I would do the same thing, which is to report back any conversation that Elaine and I have about
Correct.
this vote. Okay.
Correct. And this one I don't know much about, the certification of compliance for town road and bridge standards. You want to tell us, Tom?
Or Steve can tell you, or Jeremy.
Well,
knows
I'll
better.
ask Jeremy first. Do you know how many very high priority segments are remaining that have to be completed by December of 2025 calendar year?
Well, when we first started last year, it was 15, but I believe we took care of, I think we're down under 10 now. I don't have an exact number.
Is this the hydrologically connected road segments?
Correct.
Yeah, I just spoke to Jeff. Was it Jeff that I spoke to?
They're easing up on the,
And yeah,
Are they?
yeah.
we have a little
Because
bit
they
more
know
time
that
to-
people, it's just an unattainable ask from these towns. I mean, we are light years ahead of most towns around us, so.
Yeah,
So
and he's
Katie,
gonna
there's a
come.
modification on that?
He's gonna come, and it's Jeff
Nugent.
Jeff Nugent is gonna come, since we got that grant for dealing with that, he's, supposed to come and talk to us anyway. And, the inventory needs to be completed by the end of 2027. But he said that we're pretty, like, ahead of the game. And they're less concerned with targets and focusing more on improvements being made, which Townsend has certainly done, he said, so we're in really good shape with that.
Okay.
And he's gonna tell us more when he comes to meet with us.
Yep.
So.
So it's fine for us to sign this, that we do meet, if we check out the box, we do meet or exceed the minimum requirements. And
Is this an original?
is Jeff gonna help us do an updated networking gallery?
Yeah.
We actually
Yeah.
obtained just under
Is it the
$10,000
$9,000
grant, he's gonna help, so he'll do most of it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That was purpose of the laptop, so we can start doing, or tablet that I got.
Yep.
And we're gonna work side by side with them, so that
Yeah, and
in the future, we can keep it in-house and.
Right.
he explained that there's certain sections that they're just gonna do for us, and then there's sometimes that he'll be working with Jeremy, but I guess on some of them he doesn't need us, and that's all part of that grant money.
Okay.
You need a motion to sign that?
I think we do.
Okay.
Make a motion to sign the certification of compliance for the town road and bridge standards and network inventory.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
So, that's what we just did. Now, I don't see Sherwood's request
Oh, we have to do
here.
the annual financial plan for town highways.
Am I stopping?
I don't really.
Is that that's a separate document? The financial plan?
It's listed on the agenda separate too.
Oh, it is, okay, so then I did it right. So we had to make a motion on that.
Okay. I probably thought they were all in one. You wanna make a motion, Katie, since you're looking at it?
So the second page is one we all have to sign.
The
It's this
annual
one.
financial plan?
I'd like to make a motion to, are we certifying the annual financial plan?
Correct. So these numbers need to match what comes out of the town meeting. And we were at $1,039,000. The adjusted number is 969,000 and change for the revenue and expenses. They have to match.
Do we make sure they match before we sign it?
Megan Brunk did this, we met with her the
Oh,
day
yeah,
after and she
yeah.
filled it out.
Okay.
Based on our town
No.
report, so,
A town report or a town?
our town report,
Yeah.
Okay,
the article.
okay.
So Megan filled these out for us and we met with her. I don't believe we had a second to the motion.
Second.
Okay.
Okay, so any further discussion? All those in favor?
I
Aye.
Aye. So kind of the next one I'm seeing, oh, here it is. So we have Sherwood's expenditure, and then we have the policy for the temporary expenditure policy.
For the
So-
new select board.
for the new select board. So I don't know if you folks who are newly back on the board were aware, but the last meeting we instituted a temporary expenditure policy that was $500 limit to anybody in town spending $500 or less with if they had that money in their budget. If they didn't have the money in the budget, or if it was over $500, they had to come to us. The reason we did that was because we've experienced highway deficits in the past, and we were trying to, tighten our belts, so to speak. And why else did we do it? We had another reason. And we just thought it was good to do it across the board to everybody, to every office. And it doesn't, unless something's an emergency, people can wait a couple of days to 2 weeks to talk to the board about it. So
We have 2 of our first requests have come in.
2 requests have come in that are over the,
Fire department and highway.
So would this supersede a RFP? Isn't that what we set up before, is we had an RFP, so that if somebody wanted to spend money on something, they filled out an RFP, they sent it to us, so if they wanted to buy brake parts at Napa, you wrote Napa brake parts, estimated cost, or quoted cost, and you handed it in a slip, and then you got it back. Am I right or wrong? Isn't that what you had to do?
I have never seen any of that.
No, I
But
did
that may be the way to do it.
Purchase orders.
That may be the way to do it, but that hasn't been.
I thought that's what we did.
In the procurement policy that we were working with, when was that signed? And it was I think it was 2021.
that's exactly August 10, 2021.
There was like certain people within the, certain departments within the town that could spend within their budget to a certain amount there, and then otherwise the scaffolding of it was like different expenditures over $50,000, over $200,000. So
Right.
we were trying to cap even some of the smaller amounts with this freeze.
So what we had is a situation of, in the past, for instance, ordering parts, you couldn't spend more than $500, call it or whatever. You needed an RFP, or you should have done. Maybe it was presented and never enacted.
But they were, everybody.
Can I finish?
Yep.
So what happened is there was a situation where in one day there would be 4 or 5 different purchases from Napa, resulting in a greater than what the expenditure was, and then all of a sudden it was like, well, you just circumvented the situation. And that's where I thought we came up with an RFP, request for purchase, but maybe not.
Well, right now, what we have in front of us is this temporary policy that the new board can keep in effect or change, or say they want to read it and digest it and come back next time.
Let's read it, digest it, but let's get through the fire department's needs first.
Okay, Sherwood's email. The only question I have to make a comment about that is, where did it go? Do you have it right there in front of you? I can't. The only comment I have is, I understand this is well in excess of your $500 cap. He was on the board, he voted for this, so it's not my or the board's, it was what was enacted. Is it more than the cap? Yes. Is it necessary? Most likely. They ordered them a year ago. The other thing that I would say is we have rolled a lot of money at the end of the year into a reserve. Could it come out of the reserve instead of
Line item.
a line item? So that's something that I think the select board has to ruminate about.
So if we hold off for 2 weeks, Warren, is it gonna mess up anything that the fire department is looking to do, or Jeremy in the town?
I can't personally speak to the fire department budget. I don't sit on the budget committee, so I can't ascertain anything of that. The only thing I would question would possibly be touching the reserve fund, because that's specifically allocated for a future pumper. Nothing to do with the purchase.
Well, I think there were several reserve funds from the fire department, weren't there?
I thought that there was the fire department reserve fund, but I believe that's for the new truck, the one that's over 300,000.
It's the one that's always there. It's always been in place for 35, 40 years. That reserve fund has been established to
And
help
then there's a fire
taxpayers.
fund.
Right. And then
I think
I
there's
believe
two.
there's the,
Fire.
in conversation at town meeting, I believe there's the fire pond reserve. But those,
That's
those
a-
are specific
Right.
line items and reserves for usage, so.
Well, I did ask the treasurer for some data on that, but I didn't get it before she left today. So if we want to wait the 2 weeks, if we think we can wait the 2 weeks, I mean, if they've been waiting a year for it, I'm not making.
I don't even know what it is. Sorry.
Okay, so it's for a jumbo short ball intake, which I don't know what that is,
I can wait.
but overhead door issues.
I believe they were, I went by the other day and they were working on them. I don't know, one of the panels had to have some,
It looks like one's been replaced.
it had to be fixed, yes, we stopped losing heat. They were asked way before winter to get there and they were drag found they were there last week, I think, but that repair has been
At least they got there before the end of winter.
yeah, but I can only speak, like secondhand to this. The valve piece, I think, is definitely something that can wait. The door has already been worked on.
So if that repair's already been done, then that bill, whenever it comes across the desk in the warrant, is gonna have to get paid.
Right, but it's just, can we take from a reserve? How many reserves do we have?
Well, Alene has to answer what's remaining funds year to date are in all the line items for the fire department, equipment repairs, etc.
And June 30th, when we rolled money over that they had excess at the end of the year, where did that money go? And is it up for an expense like this?
I mean,
So-
the bill for the roll-up door could be in that envelope right now that we haven't had a chance to even look
I
at.
don't think she ever got it yet.
Not yet.
I
No,
don't think
because
she's
Sherwood
okay.
was talking to her about it or
So the
communicating.
door's getting fixed. We'll figure out what funds
Or-
are remaining.
Or it could have been half fixed, cob job to get it through.
We
and
just
not-
want you to get out if there's a fire.
Yes, and that's, yeah.
So,
It was functioning before. It needed to be repaired for basically to keep it from losing air. And
Okay.
we had crudely rectified it with something to stop the air from leaking under the door while we weren't there, because we're not there every day. So when we used to leave, we'd pull the door.
so where do we stand? The next 2 weeks, we'll have this $500 policy. What Connie and I have been utilizing is a budget worksheet that gives us the percentage of money spent per line item. And we use something like the town clerk's salary, that's the same every week. And if it's
Right.
69%, then everything else should be 69% or less if you're in budget.
Right.
And we've been utilizing worksheets like that, and it's when we started getting nervous, like, well, look at this and look at this, we better start being careful, and that's how this was born.
So is it safe to say that the board is considering or making a motion to address the door repair tonight and authorizing the treasurer to pay that invoice, and then researching and discussing the second?
I don't think we made that. I
No,
think
because-
That's what I heard.
If the repairs have been made already, we're gonna have a bill in there, maybe the next meeting,
Right.
maybe in 2 meetings. And then we'll have time to go through the warrants like we used to before the meeting started and look at every one. And if that one comes up, we're gonna pay it, obviously.
Right, but we don't know for sure if they went and cop jobbed the door to get,
We gotta see what the bill
we've gotta
is,
see,
or maybe Glenn can tell us.
right, we'll do some research.
But we also need to know how much funds are remaining. We have, 4 periods left to go?
Mhm.
How much funds are
I
remaining?
believe there's a maintenance line item that maybe would come out of there.
Right.
So,
being the first request of this policy, this is a proper way to make the request, sending an email or dropping off a request. And for the fire department one, it's not gonna be acted upon tonight, it will be acted upon at the next select board meeting probably, right?
correct.
Okay,
We'll have financial information, possibly we'll have a bill.
yep.
Work status and financial information.
Can I add one other thing? Because this is a new policy, it seems to me that this RFP, request for purchase system that did exist, we may want to look about, is there a form to fill out? I mean, you may want to just, we have a few months of this policy before it expires. And this is the first time we're dealing with a request, so we may want to think about something like that.
So, in order for me to send the truck out tomorrow and repair the tire and wheel, I have to put in a request for purchase? Because I know those bills are gonna be over $500, so I gotta wait 2 weeks to get the approval? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying?
There was two things discussed when this was being discussed and voted on. Number one was, if it's an emergency, it can be dealt with right there and then. But I think the emergency that they were referring to was weather instances, weather disasters.
Well, I mean, even if the fire department door fell off and it couldn't be fixed and it was wide open, that's an emergency that we'd have to
Right,
deal
I'm
with.
just saying that the emergency that was referred to at the time was more weather incidences, but there was a provision for emergencies. And then the second thing that was discussed is that if there's an urgent need, that a special select board meeting could be held.
So like, say I order a barrel of oil that costs $700 and something, I have to put in a request for that.
Well, that one, it sounds like because it's, can be planned and because it's over the $500 mark, would have to be requested.
And I think you can have a list of planned expenses for the month of April and then come to the board with that list and say that, this is gonna cost $3,000 and I have $7,000 in the line item, but of course it's over the 500. So.
Emergency items, I didn't read what this thing has, but emergency items, well, you're not gonna be left hanging. I mean, basically it's so that,
Right.
the one that I'm talking about was from years ago, and it was set up so that like if T3 needed something, you went in and your line items and you had set amount budgeted for T3, it just keeps you from, going above and beyond, and if you needed to keep it on the road, then you did, but it's just keeping everybody on the same plane is what it was. This one, I'm not sure, so I think that's probably what it is. I'm gonna presume.
So,
Okay, so just so if I can understand, so the board, in terms of the fire department request for expenditure, is going to research, gather the appropriate documents, and address at the next select board meeting.
and who is gonna research and gather?
I'm assuming that you will direct me to do some of that.
I will, and I'll help you if you'd
Yeah.
like.
And then if we want to skip over to the highway request, because that came in later, so if we want to address that one now, we can address that. I think that may be the last document piece of.
Zumbruski's request for expenditure for the highway department.
It's the last paper in the packet.
Because I was putting things on the back side, so I don't know where the last is.
You can share.
Oh, it's handwritten. Okay. 6 bulbs per fixture. What are the bulbs that are there now? What is their status?
About 50% of them are burnt out at this time, and it's getting pretty dark in the shop. Warren and I have kind of been discussing what the best option is moving forward. And we both agree that the LED T5 light bulbs are a better option. They're a little pricier, but for the money it's going to save us in the long run, I think it's very worth it.
Is this 144 light bulbs?
Yes.
It's a
It's
building.
all the high bays. They're all every high bay light in the garage.
There's 6 bulbs per element.
To the lumen output they need. I wasn't here for this matter. I was just here to, see your guys' face again, because I missed you from town meeting. It was fun. But then Jeremy had asked me today, because we've talked about this for well over a year.
It's been a long time
Because
coming.
we've pedaled it along. There's a bunch of different options. Sometimes you can just change the whole fixture. It gets labor intensive. You can do a direct wire LED bulb. That's labor intensive. You got to touch every fixture. This particular light bulb is LED, requires the ballast to stay in place, but it allows the highway department basically to go and change all these light bulbs themselves without paying me to come in and do it. And what I was really impressed with was if the wattage thing, and it's a little confusing. So right now, if they go in and turn every light on in that shop, you're gonna draw a little over 60 amps. I don't know if you know what 60 amps is. So that's like using 2 ovens or 3 ovens at your house all at the same time. And they burn during the day when they're there, right? So your electricity bill is kilowatts. There's a formula you could use for 60 amps and X amount of hours and how many kilowatts that you're burning just to have the lights on. The LED basically cuts that in half. So instead of 63, 64, I haven't seen the notes in a while.
64.8.
So we would be down in 30 amps, which is like running a hot water heater, a little over a hot water heater. So that was for those 600 and change, I think, for the price of just going and putting in another bulb in exactly what's there. It burns 54 watts. We would put an LED which burns half of that, and ultimately $640 some odd dollars, and the difference between 460
difference between the two.
So for less than $500, you're going to cut your electricity bill for your lights in half. And I'm pretty sure even with solar, but you're still going to gain. You're going to help your electric bill up there.
And their carbon footprint.
Yes.
Plus the batteries are probably brighter.
The lumen output will be the same, but no, it will definitely be brighter because you only got about 50 volts for it.
It's not it's an emergency.
How do you plan on getting up there and change the bulbs?
John Evans, I've asked him if they have one of them little mini man lifts.
Yep.
I've asked them if they could graciously donate some time to us, and he has agreed.
Good.
And
Who is that us?
Huh?
Is that us?
Yes.
Okay.
I've looked into, even if we have to rent a scissor lift, it's $300 for the day. So, I mean, I guess years ago, Asplund used to do it when they were parking the trucks there, so there was zero cost. They used to just back in and change the bulbs,
Right.
but they're not parking in their yard anymore.
So,
And there's no safe way to get up there on the ladder. So.
Yeah, you can't put a ladder in the bucket of the loader.
put the truck running that has no emergency brake.
The opportunity was to replace all of the bulbs, especially the ones, I think we did the ones up high. The ones on the mezzanine, you can reach off a ladder every day. The ones over the workbench, you can reach off a normal step ladder. The ones that run the whole 7 bays up in the ceiling, get them all changed now, right? And just be done with that high work while you have the convenience of a lift. Can you piecemeal it here? Sure, but then you gotta bring the lift back and everything else. So it's hopefully it'll, yep.
Well, I'll speak for myself. I personally think that the more expensive one that's gonna save us money in the long run is the better option. Then it comes, how does it fit into our $500 policy? And I would bring to the board that it could be construed that because it's a safety issue, that it is an emergency, because if people can't see and they get hurt, then
Right.
we're negligent that we didn't have proper lighting. So I'd like to hear how the board feels about that.
I think it fits into our part of it for a request for expenditures. He made the request for the expenditure, and the select board just has to review it and decide whether or not they wanna move forward with it. So that, so I think it fits within there, and I think we should do it.
Have you talked to Alene at all about where she's gonna charge it to?
I have not. It's gonna put us over in our maintenance for the barn, for sure, because we don't even budget for that type of money for barn maintenance, and I've had to do some door repairs this year too. So I know we're already creeping up to that line. Worst comes to worst, I can take it out of my materials and supplies.
Got one question for Warren. Longevity compared to the fluorescent to the LEDs.
You should get a longer burn, but they're gonna tell you you get 10,000 hours out of an LED bulb and it might burn out tomorrow, right? So there's no guarantee, but the longevity of it should be a little bit better. I mean, these have been in there a long time, and they probably only replaced the ones that needed to be replaced at the time. So you get a sporadic outage, which in some ways is good because then you're not totally left in the dark. But
Do we have to replace them all in one shot, or could we replace the ones that are blown and then, but then we're back to getting the lift? and all that stuff?
For the effort spent to take the day and move the truck and do however many days work in whatever conjunction of that they can do. And that's to save you my labor. I mean, we talked about it, and I figured out a price for a lift, and I would give it to whoever it cost me, but then it's my man hours to run the lift.
And also, we'll get busy with the lift as the season progresses.
Yeah, this isn't a bad time
Yeah,
to have that done. And they're using it more because that's where they're working. But it's been on the list. I know years ago everybody said something about lighting. It took us 4 years to get the LED lights on the outside of that garage and everything. It was a slow process.
Tommy has a comment?
Yeah, just in terms of the question about where the money will be allocated to, the barn is currently in the 100s, and the supplies in special projects are the 200s. So I think it's probably got to be deficit spent
In the 100s.
Because that's where
I
the
mean, we
barn
could
is.
grab the town report and see what's in there, but I mean, it
The
is
thing
what it
about
is.
the 100s is that we are currently under budget in the 100s.
That,
Yeah, and in the 200s, we're over budget.
Right, so it's good that it's there. So I make a motion that we approve the expenditure for the lights at the amount of, is this a firm figure or approximately?
I think the 144 is a high estimate.
215280. And do I hear a second?
second,
Any further discussion?
Could we amend that for the 215280 to not exceed that without permission from us?
Yes, we could amend it to such. And do we need
I think-
a
Pretty
second?
sure it's only like around 130 volts, but.
So we count them.
You did count completely.
I've done this multiple times for free.
Okay.
No,
I stand corrected.
Yeah, you go with 144. I double checked because it had been a lapse of time since I gave this to them. I double checked my manufacturer, the supplier, to make sure one, they were available, and two, they hadn't gone up
Good.
significantly. And I was told last week that they were still at the price that we were. And
Good,
you're getting them cheap.
good.
Thank you, Warren.
It would just be helpful if Steve seconds the amendment.
Yep, you want to?
second.
Okay, if discussion is over, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Actually, when I went with Ampro, and not to continue, I checked the amperage draw because I was like, there's no way this is 60 amps, right, for these lights. I physically went in and we took time because I wanted to see it.
It's almost
And sure as heck,
65.
flipped on all the lights and it was over 60. This helps you to generate.
And that's for lights that aren't working well.
Yes.
Okay, I think we're going on to a birthday celebration. Town hall request, a lady that lives on the State Forest Road, wants to,
2-year-old birthday
a
party.
2-year-old birthday party. I assume it's upstairs, it doesn't say.
Read from the back.
She knows about the insurance requirement, but has not yet
Produced it.
Oh, was she hoping to get this approved because the party's on the 30th, right?
And I know this family, they're a nice family, and they live in the, where the Scott Bridge farmhouse is, then there's a little house right in front of it, and they live there.
I don't know what we did in the last year, but before that, we didn't accept any of them until we had the proof of insurance. We can do a hold the date, is what we've done in the past.
What has happened over the last year is that it's a conditional approval. Approval based
Well, that's
on the
basically
condition that they produce the,
insurance.
I'm just using the terminology that was used.
So you're both agreeing, but using different words.
Mhm.
Okay. So I make a motion that we approve this, and, receive the insurance, contingent upon receiving the, proof of insurance.
Should we ask that they give us the insurance by the next select board meeting so that we, I mean, that's 5 days before they're done.
Yeah.
At least that way we
We'll
could,
sign it, but we'll hold the date.
Yeah.
And there's the issue of
And I think until the policies are confirmed, what we were doing is not charging for townspeople if they weren't doing a money-making operation. If she was selling her crafts here for money, then we would charge her. If it's a 2-year-old birthday party and she's a taxpayer, we weren't charging, is how we were doing it.
Excuse me, that's not what it says even in your current policy. You know that, right?
Mhm.
we probably should get a second and then discuss. Okay.
Go ahead, Laura.
Well, it's just like, I don't understand why people, there are policies in place and there are policies being made that neither one are being followed. So, about fees especially. And I know that people want to like give people a break, and I know that you want to be kind to the townspeople, but it costs the taxpayers money when people are here using this building. It costs electricity, it costs heat if it's cold out, it costs money for the taxpayers, and I don't understand why the taxpayers should be expected to foot the bill for someone to have a birthday party, or an anniversary party, or a dance, or whatever it is that these people are doing. You know, I mean, most people charge for the use of a hall, even if it's a minimum charge.
Yes, I just want to make a clarification. I think that Laura raises a valid point. I just want to make a clarification that the policy does say at the discretion of the select board.
Ding!
So, and I was saying how we had been doing it as of late. And we also at the beginning of the meeting said that the policies needed to be looked at, but this policy is coming in before we do the look. So as a board, we need to go forward and deal with this. And what I've heard is that we're accepting it without a fee, proof of insurance by our next select board meeting, and we'll reserve the upstairs for this 2-year-old's birthday party.
That's the motion.
We should include that we're authorizing you to sign on behalf of the board as well.
Sure, we can add that.
That's usually what we do.
Yeah. All right, any further discussion? Okay, and you will work with Alenka to get the,
Take a vote.
oh, all those in favor?
Aye.
Nick, you still awake?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, took a second to come off mute.
And, okay, so what's the next thing on the list?
It's the more paving grant money.
If we have the select board just vote that, Katie can explain it.
Yeah, so we were found, when Megan came to talk to us, and actually before that, she talked to Jeremy about how originally we were, awarded $50,000 for the paving grant, but actually they came back to us with an extra $150,000, so now it's gonna be $200,000. And so the grant agreement needed to be amended, and this is that amendment that the select board chair, I believe, needs to sign on behalf of the board. So I'd like to make a motion to have the select board chair sign the grant amendment for the paving grant.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Other than good, bringing money in. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
And, okay, and then we have no executive session. Our regular scheduled meeting is March 25th at 6 p.m. And do I hear a motion to close the meeting?
I might be out of order.
Oh, no, you're
I
not.
had something for you and I was unannounced.
Well, you said you were just observing.
Well,
so-
that too. I do have something for you folks, if I can.
Yeah, you can.
Time. Sorry. So, we've also discussed this, I think, Jeremy and I, and the fire alarm at the town highway garage. Last year, I had asked, it's serviced by Countryside Alarm. That's who monitors your system. So you pay them a contract fee to monitor, so it's 24/7. If anything should happen within the building, they're notified, whether it's a trouble or whether it's an actual fire alarm. Then we show up the red trucks. The town highway garage has had issues for the last, I would say 6-7 years. One of the problems we were having was the dial tone for the dialer, which actually uses the dial tone to call in case of emergency, is getting confused. Sherwood worked, I think, a few years ago to get the second line in because they were sharing a line with your fax machine. I think Steve was there.
Yep.
Ultimately, the fire alarm system got unplugged because it was disrupted to the daily duties. So he got the second line in. The fire alarm system is original to the building when it was built. It's out of date. The dialer can't be upgraded within the chassis of the cabinet. So I worked with Countryside Mike Blaze, and I had asked him when I was on another job, because they're calling me and telling me on weekends, nights, whenever, that the dialer's not communicating. Can you go down and check it? Which I do as a free service to the town folks. And everybody says, why the hell do you do that? And I'm like, I don't know, but I do. So I get calls, I will stop in and reset it. If the guys are there, they see it in trouble during the day, they reset it. It's countless. Endless.
What do you think we need to do?
Well, the system ultimately needs to be, the brain needs to be replaced. He had given us a quote last year, and I had asked, I believe it was Cindy from Countryside, to send it to the town. I assumed everybody got it, and then after going through this again for another year or two, I said, can you send it again? Send it to me. I will get it to the town. And actually, I found her old email from last year, and I was reading who it was sent to, and it said svcable.net. Rob, ding! That's not going to go anywhere because SV Cable hasn't worked in 3 years since Comcast took over. So you ultimately never got it. I asked her to check the quote numbers that she had given me last year, and at this point, they were sticking to that number. This is not a service that I am going to be involved with as far as taking them on and upcharging anything. It is a direct connect between the town of Townsend and Countryside to address this. My main concern is, what do you think we got in there for equipment? $2.5 million, $3?
We got a brand new $500,000 grader and another $130,000 piece backhoe plus, $2.5 million with everything.
$3 million, right? So we probably got $3 million of town equity in that garage.
Well, in the building.
Yes, in the building. So if the dialer farts out at 2 a.m. and these guys are rolled in at 1 a.m. after a heavy plow, and trucks are trucks, they're mechanical, and will break and potentially catch on fire. If unfortunately that happened and the dialer can't communicate it, you're gonna rely on your neighbor to see a big orange glow to call it in. So it's very important. And it has been important. And I thought it was getting a little bit.
What are we talking about approximately money-wise?
I have the estimate if that's something you want to look at. I can publicly verbalize it. I can't guarantee I would like the town to reach out to Countryside soon, confirm this, and follow up. You're less than 3,000.
Okay, what I would like to do is to make a motion that Connie call Countryside, did you say?
Yeah.
Countryside, that she take that, copy it, and give you a copy back. And also for her to do a little bit of investigating where we could pull the money from. And report back to us on the next meeting and keep our fingers crossed that we don't have a fire.
No, yes.
Once we say yes, then they can do it relatively quickly.
It holds for a while. It's intermittent, but yes, it's making me nervous, especially with the money that we've got invested up there.
Well, not to mention the rat's nest of wiring that is on top of my desk that I have no clue what goes to where. I have 2 different modems that sometimes work, sometimes don't. So.
Well, didn't we just get a new phone for there?
Mike, can I ask a question? Yeah. So when we called the phone company, Comcast, to get a new line for a voice message machine, they said that there has to be 2 separate lines. So there is a separate line. That doesn't have to be repaired. You're saying it's just the brain,
The fire alarm system can't navigate.
Right.
It's the dialer that lives within the fire alarm
Right.
system that can't be
So
updated.
most likely it's, the line is fine, it's just
The
the,
telephone lines, yes.
Yeah.
It's the equipment that the
Yeah.
dial tone uses.
yeah.
Right.
And Comcast, I don't believe, has put in the new phone yet. We haven't heard back from them on that, so we'll find out.
So was that a long motion that you were calling for?
I think so.
Second it.
I just want to say one quick thing is that we are potentially eligible for a 50% reimbursement on this repair through passive. So that was one of the other things that we have been looking at. So if we
We
spend.
probably don't want to move too far on it then until we know what passives.
No, it's
guidelines are.
fine. It's just about putting in invoices to them and then they tell you whether or not you're gonna get
We can
reimbursed
make a
at
passive
50%, so.
Yeah.
To talk to-
They're actually, I mean, he's recommended to change the panel fire alarm with a built-in internet connection. So you might even be able to get rid of your second line and save you a monthly charge.
And I had dug up I wanna say last year or the year before, we had gotten an estimate that either you or Glenn had brought in for the fire alarms, and it was around that same,
Well,
Right.
I
I think it wasn't Countryside, but it was a different
No,
vendor.
it was in regards to Countryside.
Oh, was it?
So it has their information. You can have that. That's a copy of the quote. The concern was lying there is that we have zero protection at the fire department.
Yeah.
Zero. And we're in the middle of getting $700,000-800,000 truck that's gonna be coming soon. So one of my thoughts was that, I don't know what was a planning commission, if it was them to pick the ball up, but somebody should really be thinking about that. I stepped out and asked his opinion on us for that. He's extremely considerate of municipalities and fire departments statewide. They've been really good. And you can't really beat their call center or their emergency service center for the central alarm. When anything happens to any system that they monitor, it automatically dials out and gets handed off to the appropriate people, whether it's the fire department or Key Mutual Aid to dispatch whoever. So the same people that do the town hall. Their monitoring fees, and I have other customers that have monitoring fees, they're good.
That's
And
good.
he gives you a municipality break. You can shop around, feel free. Fire alarm techs are like white elephants. They're hard. It's hard to get. I mean, I know these guys travel from Burlington to you name it. So they're all over. It's hard to get a fire alarm tech. I'm struggling with some that I currently use that unrelated to him. Just getting service and getting them there.
Actually, the passive list on the VLCT passive website, they don't even, the people that they have as preferred vendors don't even answer. They don't call you back because that's how hard it is to find
It's
them.
hard.
Yeah.
If anybody out there in the public wants to go into a trade and you're young, it's a lot of computer work now. And I think that's the change of the dinosaurs like myself. So, but
Connie
no,
has-
yeah.
Connie has a question or a statement?
Trying to remember. Oh yeah, two things, which is I'm assuming that this motion will be taken up at the next select board meeting, that I'm being directed to confirm the quote and to discuss with Elaine where the money comes from, and that I'm bringing that back to the select board at the next meeting.
I think so.
Okay. Second thing is, I know that Countryside has reached out to us to schedule their inspections, and we have not responded to them yet.
And that's part of the list we're trying to check off as well.
No, this was a separate email that they sent to
That
us.
list that we did, the state.
Right, but I'm talking about Countryside is asking to schedule the inspections, but there's a cost associated with it.
I think what I was saying is the VLCC checklist that we had gone through, it's on
That's-
there.
Yes, but that's
We don't
not
have
what I'm
current
raising.
inspections
I'm
there.
raising-
Right, but why don't,
Getting back to
if they
the-
come, which I think they will be coming to put this $3,000 alarm in, let's have them do it then.
It's not 3,000. Let the numbers get this off. I'm trying to give you you were asking for a rounded number.
Yeah.
And I said it would be less than 3 is what I've been led to believe with this code.
Okay.
So the hard numbers, I would let them be directed when they do get the actual answers. So
Okay.
for courtesy for everybody. You
And
know,
then,
that-
should I amend the motion to have Connie check the fees for inspection?
You can't amend your own motion.
Oh, okay.
And it's a different issue, I'm not sure it's the same issue.
Can I not overstep myself here?
No, you did.
And I spoke at this at town meeting, somebody brought it up, I said something at town
Do you
meeting.
want me to, how about this, if I contact Countryside about the email that they sent us about scheduling to get the cost of the inspections, is that what?
You do not have a choice in the state. You have a fire alarm system in a municipality, in a municipal building. You are obligated as the building owner to keep that inspection up to date. They provide the services, and yes, you would hope that they were on a schedule, and as I just explained to you, that they're hard to get, like a white elephant, you might have needed to reach out to them. That is way overdue. If you had an incident, a fire, any incident here in this building or the town garage, and that sticker is not up to date, it's not good. So this should be a budgeted number,
No
without a doubt,
insurance.
every year,
No
the
insurance
line item
coverage.
that's taken care of. This isn't an option to discuss, whether or
Insurance
not
company
it's
won't
done.
cover the building.
Right. I believe that they have inspected it. I think they were just reaching out to schedule an inspection of all the buildings.
And they're supposed to do it
Yeah.
We should do that.
Okay, we didn't have, okay.
to maintain your integrity with the state.
So I will go ahead and respond to them.
Yes, thank you. And what were you gonna say, your last comment?
I might have done
Oh, did you just say it?
If you guys, I don't know who, we would work some numbers, I guess, for you at the fire department, but in the near future, we should put it on our radars that we are zero protected for the equipment that we currently have there, and regardless of the new equipment that's coming in.
We're zero protected because,
We have no fire alarm system that will dial out if there's a problem.
okay.
You have zero protection there for that. If anything happens there, the neighbor's gonna call
And has it always been that way? We've never had a fire
Yes.
alarm?
it. Yes.
Okay. Just firehouse fire alarm seems funny, but. okay.
Yeah, you can look it up. I mean, fire.
No,
fire-
I believe you.
trucks that they burn. Yeah.
I've never-
The old ones.
I've never-
Or they collapse like that.
I've never-
Yeah, it was, anyway, we're extending your time, so, yeah, that was my firehouse thing.
Because it wouldn't be right. So you guys can get quotes on that and approach us at some point?
Yeah, but again, it's a new board, new year, new era, just, I know you got a lot on your docket too, but we need to think it as collectively as a town, we really need to get
Yeah.
moving on it, so at least we know where we're at. And I'll corner Mike somehow and have him give me some firm numbers.
Mike's your assistant constable? Is
No,
that-
Mike is the owner of Countryside.
Oh, okay. Blaze, right?
Yes.
I'm thinking a fire company
Yes.
whose name is
I was gonna
Blaze.
say, that's a weird.
Yeah,
BLIS.
yeah. I was thinking of Mike Cutts. I was getting confused. So, you glad you're not the treasurer? Did you hear that the other day?
What, I got to collect taxes for free?
Yeah.
Well, you guys would love it. Somebody would love it.
Yeah. So, okay, shall we make a motion to close the meeting?
I think there is a motion that needs to be voted on.
Which is,
Ask the select board to reach out, ask
Connie.
Connie to reach out to Countryside to confirm the quote and direct me to investigate where we're gonna pull the money from and to address this at the next select board meeting.
correct. So we have that motion on the floor?
I think I seconded it already.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, nobody? So I'll make a motion at 7:53 to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.